Welcome back to the Barca Breakdown. My name is Youssef, and I'm here with my co-host Adam.
Hey guys, hit that subscribe button if you want us to beat Dynamo Kiev tomorrow. We'll be coming up with a video after the game, hoping we're going to at least extend our life in the Champions League, but that's not why we're here, Yus.
Yes, we got some big news coming out from Laporta talking about the sacking of Ronald Koeman, and then him also commenting slightly on the appointment of the possibility of Xavi, and then we go into Messi's interview.
Lionel Messi,
on Sport.
Copa America champion, greatest player of all time, man Yus hates and I love, giving his dirty dishes about Laporta, about the World Cup, and about a little bit more, right? But let's get into it, Yus, because this is Koeman. This is Laporta's first time coming out and talking about firing Koeman. And we have covered way too many times the whole debacle, the deadlines, the 3 games here, 3 games there to prove yourself, Koeman's plea for, more time, the fact that this whole situation seems crazy because Laporta allegedly told Koeman in the summer, I want a new coach, give me 2 weeks. And then if I can't find one, you'll stay, right? But after, that awful Rayo Vallecano game and the fat lady singing on Koeman's reign, Laporta came out and he said we should have removed him, Koeman, earlier, but it's easier to analyze things with the beauty of hindsight. In September, before the international break, when we backed him, we felt he deserved to be shown some confidence and be given the chance to get the injured players back. He also said, I take responsibility for not making the decision before. We beat Valencia and Dynamo Kiev, but then came a series of bad results. We were drifting dangerously, and we risked losing touch in all competitions. Right, and so my initial reaction to that use is, it's mixed, right? As we do every time we look at things that Laporta says, we see it a lot as like a politician speaking, trying to think of the thing that will get the most, favorable reviews amongst the greatest amount of socios or Barca fans. At the same time, you do have to appreciate, he does later on really recognize that Koeman is a Barca legend and that we should give him respect. And he also says he's appreciative that Koeman came at a really difficult time and took the job. However, I don't know. I mean, it just seems like again, just Laporta kind of deflecting the blame on firing Koeman. It seems like he's like, we wanted to give him more time. We wanted to do this and that, right? I mean, he doesn't come out and really admit what we all think is the issue here, is that it was a money issue. But at the same time, Laporta does say it wasn't his decision. It was his responsibility for not making the decision before. And so I don't know. How do you feel about it, Yus?
Yeah, I just think it's a politician's talk again. Like, he flip-flopped too many times for me, right? You even prefaced this whole conversation with the fact that, he had those 3 games beforehand.
Three games.
Yeah, he had the 2 weeks notice of like, hey, I'm going to look for somebody else. At this point, I think that he just realized, like, hey, we're losing Champions League. We're doing so terribly. We're probably going to get knocked out, and we might not make Champions League next year due to our La Liga standings. So I think he was just in a position was like, hey, this is like my last string. We had Rayo Vallecano. That game was terrible. He saw that performance. No fans were too happy about that one. I think it was just time.
Either.
That's true.
Nou, right?
That's true.
Of course, losing Lionel Messi will do that to you. But, yeah, I mean, overall, everything's bad with the club. And I think a more eloquent way to say what I was describing earlier is that Laporta does take blame for not firing him earlier, but it also seems like he's speaking about, I don't know, it doesn't seem like he's really tackling, and I don't know if he ever will, the fact that he never liked Koeman the whole time, right? And as we get into his comments about Xavi, you do just wonder, like, well, why didn't we just get Xavi in the summer?
Sure, definitely. I mean, yeah, it's a good question. And I think, with the comments we're going to speak about with Laporta on Xavi is like Laporta's not going to be revealing too much information here. And again, he's a politician. He's going to only reveal so much information. But let's get into his comments about Xavi here is that, he says that he has pretty regular contact with Xavi, and he also said, I have great references from people that know more than me in that regard. Speaking about his Xavi's coaching career, I speak with him often. We have and always had a great friendship, despite what's been said by some media outlets. Now, he's basically just saying here, like, I've heard good things, and then I talk to him regularly, right? So he also discussed further, which is the most important comment here, that I know his opinion, talking about Xavi's, what he thinks about the squad we have and what we need to do. My opinion of him as a coach is very good. I haven't seen many of his games with Al Sadd, but I have watched Barca games with him speaking him on the phone, right? So basically, he's not really revealing too much here. He said also that there were other appointments that were possible, but I don't really know if that's true, right? All signs are pointing their fingers at Xavi here, especially there's a lot of reports.
I do think the fact that he says that he knows what Xavi thinks about the squad and what we have and what we need to do. I mean, that is a more in-depth conversation than you have with just like, a player you had a good rapport with.
Sure.
Right? Like
exactly.
That seems like he's getting into the nuts and bolts of the job, which again, just kind of echoes everything has said. All the reporters have said about this is that it seems like a foregone conclusion. Xavi is just waiting to play 1 or 2 more games with Al Sadd, and then he'll be coming to Barcelona to take over as the new coach sometime right around when the international break ends, I think in like mid to late November, right? But let's get to the more interesting part, right? Because this is the Barca breakdown, but we all know I'm a huge Messi fan. Yus, not so much. And I want to talk about some of his comments because this is the first time we've got to hear Messi really unleash, quote-unquote, at PSG talk about his time with Barca. If you remember Messi's farewell conference when he was like crying and all upset, he left he left the door open to be like, you know what, Messi's not entirely happy with how the board and Laporta handled the situation. He was kind of vague about did the board do everything possible. But then, as we all remember, in October, Laporta comes out and he says a comment that really rubbed me and Yus the wrong way, right? He comes out and says, I would have liked if Messi played for free, and I would have been all for it. It is my understanding that La Liga would have accepted it, but we cannot ask a player of Messi's stature to do this. At the time, we were very confused for a few reasons, right? One is that the club clearly asked Messi to take a 50% pay cut, and he offered, and we still couldn't sign him. And there was no reports or news that they ever asked for anything more, so it's not like he refused to do anything for the club.
Sure.
The other thing is that there was always, when after that big Jorge Messi and the board meet and the bomb is dropped, the bombazo that, Messi won't re-sign, there was always this talk of like a Spanish labor law that meant that you couldn't take over a 50% pay cut if you were keeping the same exact job responsibilities. And so never made sense to us why Laporta came out and said it in October. It always seemed very politician-like to kind of try and throw blame away from him and on to, essentially Messi for not signing. And so Messi comes out, and he says, the truth is that, as I explained on my way out, I did everything possible to stay. Never at any time was I asked to play for free. Boom. Right? He says, I was asked to cut my salary by 50%, and I did it without any problem. We were in a position to help the club more. The desire of me and my family was to stay in Barcelona. Nobody asked me to play for free, but at the same time, it seems to me that the words said by the president are out of place. They hurt me because I think he doesn't need to say that. It's like getting the ball off you and not assuming it's a consequences or taking charge of things. This makes people think or generate a type of doubt that I think I do not deserve. Boom, Yus. You wanted to hear Messi unleashed about Laporta. He gave it to you. What are your thoughts?
I think that's what we've been kind of saying the whole time, right? Like, with the whole part of him not taking charge of things, his not taking accountability here, right? Like Messi was offering up whatever he could do, right? And he thought he offered what the club needed. And when he came back and then he was told that could not happen, he was pretty confused. He's like, wait, you asked me to do these things. I did them. I'm trying to work with you here. But now at this last moment, you're telling me it cannot be done. I think he's totally right.
And then you're coming out to the press and kind of spitting on me and say well, Messi didn't do everything he could do to stay at Barca.
I wish you did it for free, and you're like, what?
it's such a rock and a hard place that we're put between, because on the one hand, we all love Lionel Messi, right? All of us, for the rest of my life, Lionel Messi will be my phone background, and I'll always think about Messi and talk about him and watch his highlight videos. On the other hand, the club needs to do what's best for them, right? And so if the club needed to say hey, Messi's contract and signing him in general in his age isn't what we needed for the club, and we had to move on, I think we would have a little bit more understanding. Whereas, in this situation, all that's happened is that the club basically said, we fumbled the finances and didn't know how bad it was, and the league is making us push it up, get rid of Messi. And then now Laporta in October is saying, Messi didn't do everything he can to do, to stay with the team. It just seems like no one was willing to take responsibility or accountability for what happened, and that's exactly what Messi's saying.
Sure, and I mean, what is he supposed to say now? I think he's at the point where, he's at PSG now. There's nothing he can do. I think sitting on it would be kind of hard for him because I know he loves Barcelona. And, we're going to talk about some of his more comments about that. Yeah, so exactly. So Messi was asked about returning to Barcelona, and he says, after my contract expires at PSG, it's not certain. We're going to return to live in Barcelona, and our life will be there. That is what my wife wants and what I want. I do not know if it will be when my contract is up in Paris, but we will return to live in Barcelona. Now,
he's also said, which is interesting, is that he said, I always said I'd love to help the club and be useful. I would love to be a sporting director at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So, even though he said, I don't know if it will be in Barcelona or not, I mean, Messi, in his infinite love for the club, is saying, like, hey, I might not ever come back as a player, but no matter what, I will live in Barcelona and do whatever I can to make this club the very best in the world, which is all we ever thought he would do.
Yeah, and I mean, plus, at that time, after 2 years, he's going to be 36 years old. I think he's going to be coming into one more World Cup here. And so, I'm not sure what he's going to do there. And, he's not even sure what he's going to do, right? He had a comment basically saying, when asked about his career and playing longer.
The World Cup.
Yeah. He said, no, not really, not really. After what happened to me, I live day by day, year by year. I don't know what will happen in the World Cup or after the World Cup. I don't know about it. Whatever has to happen at the moment will happen, right? So he's basically saying my future is, at this point, just going to be determined on how he feels at that point once he gets there. And
now,
I think that's
I also don't take it to be entirely that, right? I feel like there are a lot of people, including myself, who kind of thought like, hey, Messi, he has the contract to PSG, right? That'll end. And then he has this World Cup coming. I have thought at sometimes that, hey, after this World Cup, he might hang up his boots. It is encouraging as a big Messi fan to see him say, hey, that's not written in the stones, right? There was always, I believe there was an age Messi set that around 35 he would reevaluate, but it looks like he might be looking at continuing past that if he's still up to the level and his body feels good, which is, encouraging to see as a Messi fan.
Sure. I mean, look, as much as you preach that I don't like Messi, it's totally opposite, and I would love to see Messi play for another 5 years if possible, as long as he's playing well and healthy. Because it would be awesome to see him win a World Cup. He won that Copa America, his first international trophy, putting a second one, and I know he almost won a World Cup before.
Seeing Messi
I'm sorry.
win a World Cup would be a dream. But let's get on to the last topic, because our most famous video ever was about Messi winning this Ballon d'Or. And Messi comes out in the most messy way possible when talking about the odds of him winning Ballon d'Or number 7, right? He comes out and says, if I'm honest, I don't think so. I don't think I will win it, the 7th one. My biggest prize was what I was able to achieve with the national team. After having fought so much for that achievement, it was the best for all it cost. If the Ballon d'Or comes, it would be extraordinary for what it would mean winning one more. The 7th would be crazy. If not, nothing happens. I have already achieved one of my great goals. And this is really kind of where Messi loses out, right? That's why we have such a big Messi Twitter hive, is because Messi's not that guy like Cristiano or like Benzema or like Lewandowski who's going to come into these interviews saying well, I definitely think I should have won the Ballon d'Or this year. Messi, he got what he wanted, which is to win an international trophy, and he's so happy. And it just so happens that his humbleness will be rewarded with Ballon d'Or number 7, right, Yus?
Yeah, I mean, we've covered it twice, I think now. We had like you're saying, the biggest video that we've ever produced here on Messi's possibility of winning Ballon d'Or. And then we covered it again saying there's no other way. Nobody else is going to win this. We don't think Lewandowski's going to win it. But, at this point, I think Messi's just being humble. And, dude, he already has the most ever Ballon d'Ors. He has 6 of them. And it's very hard to win 2 in a row. But, this last year was awesome. He did a...
But wouldn't it be nice, Use, if the number 7, if the number 7 was famous in soccer because of Lionel Messi's 7 Ballon d'Ors, not for any other 7s out there. But hit that subscribe button, please, guys, because we have a big game coming up tomorrow against Dynamo Kiev. We'd really appreciate your support. We'll be back tomorrow. Let's hope we get a win. Let's do it. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.